You're listening to Technically PvP, a podcast about player versus player in the world of Warcraft.
For the glory of Stormwind! Victory or death!
It's January the 8th, 2019, and you are listening to Technically PvP, a podcast where we analyze the various aspects of player versus player in the game World of Warcraft. Hey, I'm Jarisar, a PvP apprentice, and on behalf of Andalin and Winstead, welcome to the show. I am also very pleased to welcome RZN to the show. Hey, dude.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I am so happy you're here, just because of everything we're going to talk about. I think it's a great way to kick off 2019. But before we actually get into the rest of the meat of what we're going to talk about today, I'm sure that there's lots of people that know about you, but please just indulge me for a second and just tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of, go ahead and brag.
Well, my name's RZN. I've been playing WoW for since day zero. I've been playing since the game came out. I stood out in the midnight release and got it when I was like 12 or 13, however long ago that was. But wow. I've been PvPing, since season 1 back in TBC. I've gotten rank 1 twice, Gladiator 13 times. Pretty consistently, yeah. That's about it. You can find me on Twitter at RZN732 and same as Twitch, RZN732 on Twitch as well. So
awesome. So you've stuck through it though. Like you've stuck through it since day 1 or day 0.
No kidding. Yeah. I there were times where like in WoD, I think was like my biggest gap where I didn't really PvP too much. But for the most part, I've been PvPing. I want to say like every single season. Like I've been subbed since I've never actually unsubbed from WoW. I've had my few month breaks here and there due to real life or work or what have you. But I've never actually been officially unsubbed from WoW. They always seem to keep me subscribed.
Did you get the statue?
Which one?
The one they gave as an anniversary present for it was the 10-year or whatever when they gave it.
I think I did. Yeah. Awesome. I feel like I can't unsubscribe from WoW. They've done so much for me in this game, so I just feel like I just gotta play every expansion at least once. So
yeah. Well, I think that's fair. I think anybody who enjoys the game needs to at least experience each expansion and then make their own judgments for themselves versus.
Yeah, just riding the hype of something.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Well, I guess
or negativity. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's one thing. It's to see for themselves whether the hype is real, and to not have to listen to the negativity. It's like you ever think you're considering whether or not you want to watch a movie or not, and then you hear the reviews and they're like, oh, this movie sucks, and
exactly,
and then you go and watch it and it's like the best movie you like.
Right.
Like, hey, that wasn't bad at all. Yeah.
Like for example, like WoD, I didn't actually think WoD was that bad, and everyone says WoD's like the worst expansion to date. But I didn't think the PvP was too awful.
I can't say everybody says it's horrible.
It was very long though. It was a long expansion.
Yeah, I think that's on the PvE side. It's acknowledged that there was a feeling of the developers kind of walking away from it, but that was also when they went into a major expansive mode. Blizzard even talked about where they went into a major expansion mode. They hired a whole bunch of people. They changed their systems in the backside of how they developed the game. And in doing that, it actually created a massive lag time before they could actually get back up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt that in WoD.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest complaints and gripes that I hear, and I actually kind of agree with, honestly, about WoD, because you're right, it is commonplace, regarded as the most disliked expansion year to date. So I think the biggest complaint that I've heard is that it's really separated the community to where everyone's chilling in their own little garrisons. You don't just walk around Stormwind and see like tons of people and slow down a good amount of FPS or Orgrimmar,
Right.
you know, or Ironforge, you know. And so I think it kind of like took out some of that feeling
Yeah.
that people didn't really realize was like, hey, this was a big part
Oh,
of
it's
this game.
huge. Yeah, that is right. I forgot garrisons were introduced and like, and
Yeah. And now
yeah.
they've just rinsed those
Yeah.
out. Goodness gracious.
No, you're right though. It's that was definitely a big thing with the garrisons and how that impacted the feeling of community. And I think they've learned from that, and we saw that in the guild halls, and now where we're at with the way the city feels and the sharding and everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent thing. Now that we're done talking about, what was that, 4 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we talk about what we've been up to since our last show, which was almost 4 weeks. Well, it's 4 weeks to the day, actually. So, actually, hey, Andolin, what have you been up to for the last 4 weeks?
For the last 4 weeks, goodness gracious. Well, every time I do a lot of research and stuff, but we're gonna stick away from that for a little bit. I had a great time going home for a little bit, and the fam bam and I went out on a nice Caribbean cruise vacation that was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I was able to coerce my 2 younger brothers into saying, let's go ahead and let's do it. Let's get a drink package. And we drank about, let's just say we definitely at least doubled our value every single day. So that was a lot of fun. My liver hates me and I'm still recovering, but it's okay.
So you had a repeat of BlizzCon then?
No, BlizzCon was child's play. Did we even drink at BlizzCon?
Yeah.
We did?
Don't you remember?
No.
So BlizzCon was a good time.
Oh, got it.
Dude, I remember us like having beers together at BlizzCon, and then
that's right. Yeah.
and then there was that whole conversation outside.
Oh no. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Now he remembers. All right. RZN, dude, what have you been up to for the last 4 weeks? I guess.
Just chilling at home. Really. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to go back home. I'm originally from LA, and I'm out here in the Bay Area in SF, working in the game industry up here. Right now I'm in between contracts, so I've got a lot of free time. So that's why I've been like streaming a lot and trying out new games and whatnot. But yeah, just chilled. My car is kind of like I'm not able to go too far right now because my car is like needs smog and I can't pass smog because I have engine problems and just a long list of things I need to do.
No.
And so
California woes.
I was just trying to stay local for the holidays and just kind of hunker down and just play a bunch of games, play more WoW too, and getting back into it. So
sounds good. So I think the last couple times I did creep onto your stream a bit. You were playing not necessarily RMP. You're playing a couple other different comps and just kind of playing around.
Yeah.
What exactly have you been doing on Live Ladder? I guess.
I've been messing around with RMP a lot. With a lot of RM Pally prior to 8.1. 8.1 has just been mainly RMP. So I took, the guys that I normally RMP with and, they've got alts and stuff. So I've been messing around with like RPS, what else? Like RPD, little variations. Like Shadow Priests are pretty solid right now. So I've been trying that out. It's just a different play style than we're used to than my current RMP team. And so we're losing every game because we still have that mentality of like that RMP mentality. So we were just getting farmed on the ladder. But for the most part, I've been playing RMP for them, in 8.1. So, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay, cool.
So
I'm actually looking forward to the rest of our discussion because I want to find out later on what the RMP mentality is and how that differentiates. So I'm going to hold on. I'm going to put a pin in that one
for sure.
All right. All right, cool, guys. Well, myself, again, I mean, it was holidays, so obviously there's a lot of time spent both on and off the computer. I had a great time. What was it? It was a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was just last week. It's all a big blur right now. But I ended up getting over onto the Oasis Discord, the Oasis PvP Discord, and I ended up playing some just low key sub 1800 rated battlegrounds with Cherry and her friends over on that Discord. That was such a blast. Had a great time doing that. And other than that, sure, I did some leveling. Me and my new or my ex fiance, now wife, we went and did another run of ICC because she feels bad that I gave her Invincible. So
she probably feels bad that you call her ex fiance too.
She's very happy to now call herself Mrs. Technically DVD. So.
Yes. Oh,
that's what I'm saying. That's how I'm saying it.
You said I was Mrs. Technically DVD.
No, I said you were. Never mind.
The family dog. Yeah.
Andolin, go get the paper. Go get the paper. No. Elsier, what else I've been up to? Yeah. I really worked the auction house really hard. For two reasons. One, so I wanted to make enough money, enough gold to buy a token so I could get the Whomper, the digital pet, because of the fundraising they did on that. So I did that. And then also I did a bunch more gold fundraising to buy a token to continue my subscription, because I would rather spend I'm spending enough time in WoW anyways. I'd rather do that and earn gold to pay for my own subscription than to have to actually pay gold or pay real money for that, because Christmas, right?
Yeah, of
so
course.
Yeah. So that's about it on that side. I guess let's see what's going on for our current PvP events.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Well, thank you. So I did a search, and typical of the new year after Christmas, I can't find any actual WoW PvP events going on. I know Resurgent Esports took a break because of Christmas. I'm assuming you guys are going to start the King of the Hollow again, your Monday night, and your RBGs. Well, I saw some RBG stuff starting, but that seemed very experimental. But Andolin, I got to ask you, is there anything going on or coming up there? Because I couldn't find anything on the interwebs.
Yes. So they did a couple 6v6 and RBG tournaments while I was gone. So we actually did the first 6v6 tournament. It was just a it was kind of a very unofficial. It was a tester. It was like a, hey, come be a part of this. Let us know. It was like we're kind of getting feedback from it was like playing an alpha is what it was like. Okay. So but I mean we had a lot of success, and you know what's odd? Everyone in the RBG community hates Seething Shore, but we had the best, most hype 6v6 esports games on Seething Shore.
Well, that's because it's not cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It is so... Oh, I can't wait. Okay. I can't wait for this. Okay, so knowing that some stuff has happened and that you guys have done the testing, what's the next step? What's coming up? What's coming down the pipe?
So coming down the pipe is tomorrow you can expect to see some dates, and you can expect to see
and edit.
Sorry, I heard a crash earlier, and I was like, it was okay, good. Yeah, I just framed my diploma. Oh no. And it fell.
No.
It's okay. Oh no. I was like, oh shit.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No. So what's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so you can expect to see stuff coming out tomorrow. We'll be having some dates being pushed across our social media outlets and also through our Discord as well. So make sure you're on the Discord because that's the best spot to be. Well, we're going to be kicking King of the Hollow back off, getting everyone ready to go, hopefully looking to gather a little bit more support. We have a stream team now. Stream team has like 300,000 views across the stream team. So we're hoping to be able to, we need your support to be able to take that and everything else to go to a sponsor and say Red Bull, say Bang, say like whoever, Corsair. You want to be the one who's the first to pioneer into the next big esport.
Yep.
Come with us. And so, because if we can do that and if we have your support and we can do that, then now we can give out the prize pools that players want to see. We can actually make it feel like you're competing for something big rather than just playing in the backyard. It's still fun, but you wish there was more. So support us and we will make it more fun.
All right. So I love it. I can't wait to see. I wish I could give dates then, but obviously it's like everything. Everybody's in holding pattern.
It's going to be this month.
Well, yeah, which is better than what World of Warcraft is putting out right now, because the WoW eSports team has not promulgated their new 2009.
Well, they
not put out a schedule.
That was the beginning of February last year, right?
So last year, the first tournament started on the 3rd of February, and the actual the actual announcement, the Arena World Cup textbook didn't come out, if I remember, until mid-January. So I suspect it's probably hung up in the lawyers, because I remember we were at BlizzCon talking to Jeremy McIntyre. Excellent fella. He is the lead of the WoW eSports. And he is the not that one.
This is Jeremy McIntyre with WoW eSports, and you're listening to Technically PvP podcast.
Yes. And I talked to him. We talked to that guy, and he said he was on the verge of being able to put out what was going to happen in 2019, but he couldn't talk about it because it still had to go through the processes, and he was hoping to get it out before January. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I'm suspecting it's probably going to come up in the next week. So
I actually wanted to ask you guys something real quick. Just like, I don't want to go into too much because I know that's not what this what we're going to be talking about. But like with the WoW esports, and the success that was shown at BlizzCon, like with the viewers and whatnot, and in the recent news with like Hearthstone, being dropped, do you guys think they're going to shift a lot of resources into World of Warcraft esports? And I'm not just talking about PvP. I'm talking about like Mythics too as well. Like maybe some arenas, maybe RBGs. Who knows?
So I want to be clear. So it was Heroes of the Storm that got dropped, right?
Yeah,
not Hearthstone.
Yeah, Heroes of the Storm.
Okay, sorry. I thought I heard. I think I did. I
meant Heroes of the Storm. Yeah.
No. So I personally, I don't know if the money is transferable, because my understanding from Heroes of the Storm, a lot of that funding in that pool was not just Blizzard bucks, but it was sponsorships, and I don't know if those companies are going to transfer directly over to AWC. My understanding is, from a monetary point, the amount of money behind AWC to the viewership is a huge difference. Like the people to buck, if you will, is pennies on the dollar to what they were paying for Heroes of the Storm for mods. Now that Blizzard has decided to stop the HGC or that esports side of Heroes of the Storm within company, I don't know if that money is going to be immediately transferable. I suspect that it was held off because it was such a late response in 2018 before 19. We're talking about a year, an annual budget stuff that they're talking about. Thinking corporation wise, I really doubt that they're going to be able to react and be able to grab onto that right away. I suspect that that money internally has already been rerouted to do development, especially towards some of the new IPs that they've been working on.
True.
I'm sure.
That's my personal opinion, but I have no idea. I don't know. Right.
I was just shocked to see the viewer count, WoW Arenas was getting. I think it can open some doors in 2019 as far as just like, getting WoW esports out there and the potential.
The viewership that they had for the actual BlizzCon was amazing. It was stupendous. I only hope that more people do the same thing for all the other cups throughout the annual year, because I remember 2018 for not the regional cups, but the actual the regional LAN competitions, but the cups leading up to them was like 20,000 ish. Like they weren't making the numbers to even really kind of come into the top 10 on a regular basis. And that, I think, is where, to get that consistency, I think that's where it really needs to hit. Because it's great to have a one-time show where you get like 200,000 people watching across the world. But one time a year, 200,000? I mean, that's not even that's not even worthy compared to things like Super Bowl, Golden Globes, like all that.
It's hard to explain to a sponsor that we only peak, at a certain time of the year and whatnot. So.
Well, but in a way, I think that they're doing a great job. If you look across the world, there are now the regions that they have for all the esports. I mean, you have McDonald's hosting Australia. They're sponsoring Australia. You have what was the one that they had for NA there? That was the food place, right? They had that the food delivery company.
Uber Eats, I think it was, or like that,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like they're getting corporate sponsorship, and I like the fact that it's not just Intel, it's not just computer company XYZ, right? It's definitely branching out, so that's awesome. So, but in the meantime, actually coming back to what we're talking about, actual schedule for events for us to watch, we're all on a holding pattern, so can't wait. But I really want to find out.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into our subject of analysis.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Yes, RZN is going to light us up. So, the reason why we brought you, though, we're just going to grab the can opener and crack open that brain of yours, because we want to talk RMP.
Right on.
And personally, I don't have an 800 IQ. I don't know about Andalin. I think he has about 3,000. So 9? Okay. 9 or 9,000?
900.
Okay. So smarter than me. But RMP though, that seems, they've always talked about how this comp has always had the idea that it needs this high knowledge level or high experience to be able to play. It can be very fast paced. It is. I know it's a very setup oriented.
It's very versatile, setup oriented. Has a high skill cap, extremely high skill cap.
Yes,
out of a lot of.
And that exactly, and that's the whole idea behind the high IQ, quote unquote, idea behind it. But let's break it apart, right? So normally we start off, we talk about roles. So how would you talk about? Well, here, before we talk about roles, how about we peel this down for a sec? Because Mage and Rogue both have several different specs that can work within this comp. What do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about I don't know, Fire and Outlaw? Do we want to talk about Frost and Sub?
We can.
Well, actually, I heard Frost is kind of not the.
We can go into the meta, which is for Rogue Mage right now. The meta is Fire Mage Assassination Rogue. That's probably what you're going to see on the ladder the most is Fire Mage Assassination Rogue and Dispriest. There are variations, like you were saying. There is sub RMP, which the mage is usually Frost. So it's like Frost Mage sub, sub rogue is priest. And there's also like sub RMD with the mage being Frost. But the most popular right now in the meta for rogue mage is gonna be like fire mage, assassination rogue. That's the most common.
Okay. But with the outlier or the secondary to that being outlaw, right? Because fire outlaw tails in really nicely.
Yeah. So assassination and outlaw, I want to say they're both tier 1 specs. Sub's considered tier 2 right now. Just the burst isn't there. Like if you're gonna run sub RMP or sub RMD with the Frost Mage, the Mage one has to be Frost because you get a lot of that control. It's basically a control comp if you're gonna run sub. A lot of CC, a lot of controlling the pace of the game. With Fire Mage Assassination Rogue, it's very bursty with Vendetta. The setup's a little harder to do because you don't have that kidney shot on the healer. It basically comes down to the priest and the mage working together to get CC off, and then the rogue throwing blind out every 2 minutes. But that's kind of like what it is right now. You'll see like a lot of Fire Mage RMP and Assassination Rogue RMP, and less sub rogues out there. But the control is just it's more control when you play Frost with the Frost Mage and your sub.
Okay, makes sense. All right, so talking, let's say just fire and assassination. Obviously, then damage wise, the mage's job, aside from we'll talk about CC and that support side. Otherwise, their main job is just to really bring out those big casts and just blow something.
The G-Pies and the meteors, like timing meteor with like kidney shot, and the rogue throwing out double envenoms in that kidney, or a huge envenom after the kidney. A lot of the burst does come from the Fire Mage, with meteor and the kidney goes out and then the huge meteor comes in, or even if he gets like a G-Pie off first and then a meteor. It's a lot of bursts. Like the mage does provide a lot of bursts, and the rogue's kind of just the control. But still, even with Vendetta up and a massive envenom, like it's still a lot of damage, especially with traits. Traits are very important too, and we can also
G-Pie is such a good kick too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you see a greater pyro coming at your face, you want to stop that. So if you have a choice between a CC or stopping that damage.
Right.
And another thing, it all comes down to like getting that window of opportunity to burst, and that's why RMP is so damn strong and has been strong for years, because it's the triple CC that can put out. When you throw a blind on the healer, cheap shot the other DPS, and then fear or kidney the kill target, cheap shot the other DPS, and then fear off. You get that triple CC. One sitting in the kidney shot. The kill target's usually sitting in the kidney shot. The healer's usually CC'd either by blind or poly, and then the other person's like feared. So you get that like triple CC setup where your whole team's just free casting and just freely doing damage into that kill target, because everyone else is just out of the game for that, for those 8 seconds.
But not just that. I mean, it's because everything's also off of its own, like everything is its own class. So then there's very limited diminishing returns. So then you can follow up with like, oh, okay, poly's falling off, do a half poly. Oh, and then you follow into something else as a CC as a rogue, while then they turn around and start polying something else into a full
poly into half poly. The priest has all this time to dark and then get all that damage out and still run over to the healer and like fear off of it or something. If the rogue doesn't have a blind off of poly, or it's just, there's so much control. And that's why RMP, even in 8.1, while 8.1, the meta now is a lot of, it's more of a wizard meta. So RMP, in itself got kind of nerfed with RMP, with 8.1, but still there's just so much control that the comp provides. There's really no, 8.1 just made RMP harder to play. It's a little bit less like forgiving than it was prior.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing for sure.
Personally.
Yeah, and we're talking that a little bit off stream about how that kind of evens the paper rock scissor playing field, which is great for tournament. Not so great on the ladder because it sucks having your bread and butter competition or your bread and butter comp not be as strong. But at the same time, like you said, like when you earn a win off of that, it must feel much more epic than like, we just did our thing. And
that's
whatever.
why, like when 8.1 hit, you saw a lot of these RM Pally comps like fall off because the comp is just not as strong as it used to be. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong, RM Pally is still good. If you're running that now, you know, you're still gonna have a pretty high success, you know, success rate and win rate. But you just gotta, you know, it's a lot harder now with Paladins getting, you know, the double sack removed and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So just as a question, just to peel back, because in 8.1, what you're talking about the changes, that was where rogues got a little bit nerfed, right? That's where the nerf happened to the comp. It wasn't really
rogues.
much else.
So specifically to RMP, so rogues lost Deadly Brew, which doesn't it was just a poison change. So now most rogues will use wound poison instead of deadly poison because there's no more Deadly Brew. So you take wound poison with crippling, and then you can either take hat or like, you know, or I usually take hat right now. But that was probably the one big nerf to RMP was you lost Deadly Brew.
Okay. All right. So obviously beyond that, you're playing with Disc Priest. So Disc Priests aren't just heals. They're also DPS.
They're big damage.
They're healing through DPS, right? So now how is that against? Well, I guess your biggest fiend against that would be the Demon Hunter with their mana break, because mana is such an issue with Disc Priests, and they have some healing throughput, but mostly, if I'm not mistaken, most of their healing is while through DPS, that they don't have the massive throughput. So if you like start to below 50 or 30%, it's really hard for them to big heal you back like a Resto Shaman would or a Resto Druid. So I guess in that respect, they bring the damage, they kind of heal, but then you're up against a clock, right? Because their mana bar is the time frame that you have. It's not dampening, it's not anything else.
With priests, so with RMP does have an enrage timer. Like you reach this enrage timer with certain comps, like Balanced Druid, Demon Hunter is it's not as too scary. It's not as scary as it used to be because, you know, the mana break did get nerfed in 8.1, but there is a certain enrage timer that RMP does hit if you don't score a kill. You know, in the first like 10-15, you're gonna start seeing like problems with mana. You know, it's all about that momentum. Like RMP thrives on momentum. That's why the opener, you know, the beginning opener is so important, because you want to get that snowball rolling. And, you know, you want to try to set up, get that first, you know, those first set of cooldowns out, run away, and then reset. You know, it's a lot of rinse and repeat with RMP. And if the other team is reversing that momentum on you, and your priest can't really do their job in actually helping you DPS, and he's getting targeted, or he's getting, you know, trained down by like, you know, warrior DK right now, that's like the biggest weakness for priest right now. It's just them being the target and them not being able to like help the mage and the rogue out and do their job in like DPSing, or even going for fears on healers, you know, because like that comp is, like I said, there's so heavy setup, and if you do something to disrupt that setup, you essentially are ahead against RMP.
Wow. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I'm always so defensive against them. I was like, oh shoot.
No, you want to try to reverse the pressure on RMP. Like if you can stop the goes and then reverse the pressure and put the priest on their heels, it's huge. It's massive. Like they can't outlast right now like a Resto Shaman can, or a Paladin. Like their mana bar, they don't have the mana bar.
So I've seen so many times though with like Resto Shaman and Resto Druid where they run back and they're able to get a drink. Is that even an option for a priest in an RMP, or is it just such fast gameplay that it's like when they tap, they're
It's
Oh, it
it's
is.
an option. I think it just comes down to the composition you're playing against. Right now in 8.1, like we discussed, the meta is just very wizard. And when I say wizard, it's a lot of like fire mage, destro lock, balance druid, destro lock, and those are all super bursty comps. So when you're looking at like 15, 20 minutes into the game, priest's mana bar is probably around 20-30%. It's really hard for them to go off and get drinks because the burst is so strong. And by that time, like Incarn is probably, the second Incarn is probably back up. It's really hard to try to go and get drinks off because you're always, you're playing against a comp that can basically one shot, if you don't stop a G Pi or a Chaos Bolt, or if you don't run away from Incarn. So it's really hard for the priest to run and get drinks off. But I mean, it's possible. Like the mage and the rogue, you all have to be on the same page and be like, and start running away when you see like a Chaos Bolt going, or Dark Soul, or or G Pi or Incarn. So it's one big collective effort to allow the priest to drink.
Interesting. And that makes sense. Like it's that whole that teamwork side. It's like, okay, guys, you need to stop trying to just kill something and actually let's do some control. I need some time.
Exactly.
Right.
Break. Then that does the reset. Okay, reset into the next step. Okay, boom, boom, and then you go back into they said that whole control. Well, not necessarily control, but get back into the whole setup, CC chain and blow something the F up.
Right. Now, one of the things that I always had, where Winston and I differed is, Winston was a big proponent for, as RMP, you're either killing or running away. Like you're either bursting your cooldowns or running away. And I'm like, that's not really the case because, just controlling isn't necessarily meaning that you're just trying to run away and reset and always get a re-stealth. There's a lot more that goes into that. And a lot of it is not always running away, but sometimes it may look more like stalling, but sometimes it also may be a lot more of just like, we're going to try to, we can, like, maybe you can position in such a way that you're actually being able to get a little bit of a pressure now without some cooldowns.
Yeah. And that's like you were saying, like, that's the beauty of RMP is like, even if you don't have big cooldowns up, like if you don't have Vendetta up, you can still score a kill because of the CC chain that RMP provides.
Yeah.
So when you throw out that first Vendetta, and you get Trinket and like paints up against like an RMP mirror, that doesn't necessarily mean to just, okay guys, let's run Pillar, let's just try to get a restall. Like you're ahead on cooldowns, you got Trinket, you got paints up, you might as well just keep the pressure going. Like that's a completely viable strat. It just comes down to the team too, like and the players. Like some players do like to keep pushing in and just continue the pressure. Some teams like to just get Trinket and like a big defensive and then run. It really just comes down to the play style. And like I said, that's the beauty of RMP. You can play it so many ways. You can play it super aggressive, or you can play it like get a big cooldown and run. It really comes down to the team and what you guys want to accomplish in that situation.
But and I heard this before with other teams where in that you need to make sure that if you're going to play this comp, all the teammates are on the same idea and the feeling of how to play it. Because if you have one part of the team playing defensive and the other part of the team playing aggressive, it just falls apart. Right?
I've met mages that there are some mages on the ladder, even now and back in the day, where I come to the conclusion where I can't play with this guy. Like he has a different mindset, different play style than I do. And like, it's completely fine. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like you're still going to win some and lose some, but at the same time, you do want to find that, those two partners that are on the same page as you, and, that don't butt heads when you say, okay, let's run, let's pillar. And, you don't want a mage just going in and staying in, you want to be all on the same page. So it just comes down to finding the right, the right people and the right teammates that share that same, play style as you do.
Totally. And I think that's probably one of the biggest difficulties right now is people are too busy looking at, the best class, the best spec, the best, yada yada
Yeah.
yada, and looking at the cookie cutter and think that they can just walk into LFG and pick up class spec whatever with cookie cutter and that they're going to win, when you may understand the game, but if you're not synergizing and playing the same way in that team organization, it doesn't work you could be a 2800 player, but when you're aggressive and the rest of your team is defensive, you might get 22, maybe 23.
You won't get very far. You do. Getting high rated in arena, it does require like synergy. Like,
yeah, you won't be consistently winning
unless you're playing turbo.
All right. Oh, break out the what was that car meme with turbo?
Which one was that? I don't think I've seen that, but yeah, turbo is a fun comp. Even in the beginning of BFA, you can just kind of like grab someone in LFG and kind of just farm up to 22, 24 pretty easily.
But that changed in 8.1.
Oh yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah. It's I so wish I had my warrior properly geared for that. I missed the train.
Same. I barely made it at the end, and then they got nerfed. I was just like, damn it.
No, I was too busy having fun doing other things. I was like, what turbo? Oh shoot. And it was like, anyway, whatever. Okay, so support wise though, let's talk about what does this comp bring support wise? And in support, I mean, how exactly would you look at controlling everything, and how does each player support the comp?
So when you mean support, do you mean like when you guys are like behind, like if the team just like completely reversed it and you need, your mage needs help peels, or your priest needs peels, or do you mean just like how do they complement? How does each class complement the other?
The complement side.
Okay.
Let's look at the complement side first.
Right. Okay. So yeah, RMP, as far as like complementing each other, like RMP, I would say is one of the most legendary like comps in World of Warcraft. Starting in TBC, Mage, Rogue, Priest has always complemented each other well. Like Sheep and Fear not being on the DR. You got Blind and Fear, but that still allows the Priest to play offensive if they're not running to get a Fear or something. Because you have Blind up. So I think out of all the years of Arena, RMP has been probably, I want to say, I might be a little biased to this, but it's probably been the one comp that complements each class like the best, in my opinion. Like it's just such an old school comp. It's been around it's 2019 and RMP still a tier 1 comp, I think, in my opinion. Like so it's crazy like how all classes.
It was tier 1 in season 1, and it's tier 1 in season whatever we're in right now. Like
so it's just such a good comp to where each class is just, it plays a big role and they don't bump into each other too much. I mean, Fear and Blind, that's about it, but that just requires some communication.
True that. Okay. So I guess talking about the actual mechanics of what each class is and how that works. So you have the various rogue CCs. So that's so we got Blind, Kidney, Sap,
yep, Cheap Shot. And we're specifically speaking on assassination. So we'll stay on assassination, since assassination is the meta and that's probably the most played right now. Yeah, so for assassination, you got Kidney, which is usually like 99.9% of the time, Kidney's thrown on the kill target. Rogue throws out Blind as one of the CCs. Cheap Shot, you don't really see too much Cheap Shot unless Vanish is, because Vanish is on a 2-minute cooldown. So most rogues like to say Vanish defensively. But if you're ahead, you can throw out a Vanish Garrote. Garrote's another big one. The Silence. Garrote into Cheap Shot.
That's the other one I was thinking of. Yeah.
So, and if the priest, if the mage is having a hard time, getting a sheep on the other healer, then using a Vanish to Cheap Shot the healer in place, or to Cheap Shot the druid in caster form, if the druid's like shifting bear and he just can't land a poly. So using that vanish to cheap shot the druid and caster is completely worth it just to set something up. So that's another big CC too. Cheap
because as soon as you catch the healer outside of form, or druid specifically outside of bear, like it's kind of game over. Yeah.
Even if you CS him, if you cheap shot the druid and bear, the mage can essentially ring off of that too. So it's just that's just another big that's a big cooldown you can use as vanish into cheap shot, and you can double cheap shot too with subterfuge, so you provide that triple CC, so.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that. Me not playing rogue at all. I didn't realize that was still a thing.
Yeah.
It's very good.
So then you also have that's the rogue stuff, and then you have the mage. So that's polymorph, and they still have
ring. They can still ring when they play fire. Ring. Yeah. So you get this triple ring.
That's important. And then there's also the counter spell.
Yeah, obviously blink block your blink poly. It's all big.
And then there is now for Disc Priest, they only have their I think Psychic Scream, right? The AoE fear.
And then Mind Control.
They don't have anything
Mind
else,
Control.
Right?
Mind Control's huge. Like that's another thing.
Oh, I thought that was only Shadow.
No. Disc Priest can MC. That's another thing too that differs like a 1800 RMP to like a 2400 plus RMP. Is just the priest, throwing out those MCs, not afraid to, even if your team's a little behind, low on HP, throwing out the mind controls like for an extra CC, like that's big too. Like
that swing of pressure can even be more than heal sometimes.
Yeah, because like you got your priest is MCing, and the other team, the other team's healer is screaming out that, hey, I'm in an MC, you guys need to stop this. Like that's either a kick, that's a counter spell out of the way, or some sort of they shift the focus over to the priest, just to stop the MC. Like that's massive. That's just another big interrupt that they can use out of the way. And
I as a person, if I was healing and my team was dying, the last thing I would think about doing is going healer versus healer MC. Because now I'm out, they're out, and now it's 2v2 DPS versus DPS, and I'd just be I would be people in bricks.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people don't realize, but like providing pressure is one of the best defensives. Because if you can, if you're in trouble and you can shift the pressure over to them, they got to start playing defensive. So they're going to start running around pillars and running away from you. So if your priest is gutsy enough to throw out an MC just to start getting ahead, that buys you guys time too. So that's why RMP is so fun to play, because you can shift the pressure over. And the other teams on their heels now, and they stop doing damage, or they start trying to peel for each other, and like that's why throwing MC out is so big, because
I love watching an RMP mirror though. I get
so
you.
Fun.
Like it's such a good, it's such a fun game. Watch it like just like back and forth, but at the same time it's so fast. It almost blows my mind.
Fast paced. So I miss seeing RMP mirrors in big tournaments, back in the day. That was so fun.
Well, it still happen. It's just not every single game though. Yeah. Which is I think the other side is, we talked about that before, where the paper rock scissors and how RMP is not the go-to comp.
Yeah.
It's
it's still tier 1, but not as strong as like you're gonna see more wizards right now in 8.1 than anything.
Oh yeah. Which I think is good. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked about kind of like what each role is and how everybody brings their stuff. Let's talk about strategy. Let's actually delve into the strategy of an RMP then. Actually, Andolin, I know you have much more experience on the ladder than I do.
Okay.
Can you take this? Can you because I know you have, like I said, you have better experience than I do.
Okay. So strategies, from what I see on the ladder, as far as what RMP is always going for, is one of the crappiest things for me as an H Paladin is knowing that I'm the best target on an RMP.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like I have to play without my bubble. So and then kind of playing this season some like rogue mage paladin myself, one of the things I've noticed that it's when we were talking about earlier, being able to get that snowball rolling from the get-go and being able to establish that pressure and get your momentum going is such a huge factor, because if we can grab large cooldowns, even just 1 or 2 large cooldowns from the opener, it makes such a huge difference in the game.
Oh yeah, you're ahead for the next 2 minutes. You can basically it opens up so many windows. Like for example, like we can talk like RMP mirror. Which usually in an RMP mirror, the rogues sitting in stealth. Both rogues are sitting in stealth looking for each other. The mages are holding their invises. One mage will try to like delay their invis and let the other one invis first. That way they come out, and then the rogue, saps the mage, and then you can pretty much go anywhere from there. So yeah, it's like you were saying, like if you get, if you're an RMP and you get, paints up and trinket in the first opener, you're essentially ahead for a while. Like they're on their back heels until they can actually set something up.
Exactly. And even though you may have spent your cooldowns to get that big large cooldown, like maybe you spent your maybe the rogue had to use had to commit a vendetta in order to get bubble, because the paladin's saying, hopefully the paladin's smart and saying, I'm not going to bubble unless it's vendetta, then it's like, okay, now you can take advantage of that by being able to utilize the CC to maybe put more pressure to where it's almost as if you're popping a cooldown, because they can't heal. So
if you can get bubble right off the start and all you used was vendetta, like that opens up so much. Like you can go back to after bubbles over, like you can even go on the paladin with the next kidney. And the one thing about that too is that you got bubble with smoke bomb still up, and you probably you might have gotten a trinket too, because a lot of teams, a lot of people when they see vendetta nowadays, like, trinkets. It's an instant trinket. Like they see vendetta and it's just like, all right, trinket. The rogue will trinket because it was a kidney vendetta. Even if the pally bubble, that's still a lot of pressure. The rogues will trinket, and you still have smoke bomb for the next go. So there's so many things that become available to you on the next kidney shot. Going paladin and getting his trinket, or just CCing the paladin, going the mage next kidney. It's just all about the opener too. Is another big thing.
Exactly. So let's keep going. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it really just comes down to the opener too. It's a big thing.
It's so important as RMP, your opener, and honestly, it's actually really nice though, because it's a chance for you to essentially like put something out that you rehearse, and you can get quick games. It's like if you can sit down and work with 2 other people and train yourself and actually work out a good opener, that makes such a big difference in your gameplay. Whereas you can't always do that with every comp.
Yeah, it's massive. Like and RMP, it's your opener matters so much. Like if you notice, like if you're playing RMP, if anyone's listening and you're playing RMP and your rogue gets knocked out of stealth and you don't get a sap, like you're behind. Like you're behind because your setup, the setup wasn't perfect, and you weren't able to get a sap out, or you weren't able to get a cooldown in the opener. So you essentially need to kind of rinse, take a step back, try to reset, try to get a re-stealth, or just go off of a big, kidney in the vendetta or something, or blind. Usually if you can't get a sap, it's usually throw out blind instantly and vendetta kidney kill target. Usually that gets you the same thing. Even if you were to sap, it still gets you something, you know? So it even if you don't get a sap or your rogue gets knocked out, you essentially can still get a big cooldown with throwing blind out. You know?
Exactly. And a lot of times I've been seeing the blind vanish into a sap, taking advantage of a lot of healers who actually just don't trinket the blind, and so like there's even an element of mind games that start to come into there, because it's like that's what I'll have to do sometimes. I'll have to like get into the mind of this rogue, otherwise I'm going to get outplayed,
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about like comps and kind of the rock paper scissors matchup, so to speak. And one of the first topics we have here is kind of like talking about counters, you know. So like
Mhm.
what is an RMP going to counter? And, you know, I'll let you talk a little bit about this, RZN, but, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is ret paladins.
Yeah, I actually have not played that many rep pallies. I have played prop pallies, which, oh my god, I can't believe that's a thing.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, I mean,
Prop pally movie.
I can totally see, you know, RMP being hard for rep pallies. As far as like what counters RMP, or sorry, what is RMP counter? Um, it's really hard to say.
Let's separate them out first. So let's talk about first I guess, what you guys counter versus what counters you. So let's talk specifically just what do you guys counter as far as comps.
Yeah, and so I actually spoke. I did some prepping on myself and like asked around, even to like, you know, some friends of like, you know, other rogue friends and mage friends, and RMP doesn't necessarily. I don't want to say like RMP counters anything specifically. It might just be an easier, like, for like he was saying, like, you know, if you face a ret, like every time if I'm RMP and I face a ret, I can't, you know, I'm not scared of a ret poly. You know, it's just, I wouldn't say that we counter rets, but we have that big advantage over rets because they're so easily, you can set up on a ret pretty easily. And usually if a ret's in, you know, in the arena, they're playing with like another melee. They're not necessarily playing with like a caster. So it's a lot easier to set up against melee. And believe it or not, RMP does really well against melee teams because it's hard for the melee to stop that like famous RMP setup, like CC on the healer, then go DPS.
Right.
So
yeah, I say that makes sense because everybody's like available. There's no like you don't have to travel half the map just to like CC the other person, right? So
yeah, exactly. Usually, you know, if melee, if you get like turbo cleave, you know, rushing down your priest, the healer, again, you know, with that turbo cleave is usually probably going to be in the open somewhere because they have to babysit their two melee that are like rushing in. So so like it's really hard to say that RMP specifically counters anything. There are comps that are just easier for RMP.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
That's true. I think that's a good way to put it, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what about the flip side then?
What the flip side would it be?
What counters RMP?
What counters RMP? Believe it or not, I want to say, and I will actually, and I just discussed this with my priest earlier, the priest that I queue with the most. I want to say like a good RM Pally team can counter a good RMP team because of Hodge, because the setup some people listening might be like, oh, wait, what? Because the Pally can run in and Hodge the healer, and it could be any healer. It could be, and I'm not specifically saying like RMP versus RM Pally versus RMP. Just the Pally provides so much with that Hodge, and that's why sub rogues were so good. You know, because they provide that off kidney into sheeps into fear. So I think, in my opinion, RM Pally, a good RM Pally counters a good RM Priest because the Pally can just push in, get that Hodge on that Priest, and the rogue can set up off of that Hodge. Like you can throw out a blind, you can throw out a sheep. It just keeps that healer in place, that Priest in place, because you can't death. You know, the Priest, the Priest can't death the Poly that's coming. They can't death the blind. They're sitting in a Hodge. So as long as that RM Pally's tight with CC, and gets a CC out in that Hodge, I want to say RM Pally is like very, very hard, you know, if not counters a good RMP. Like, and that's like the only comp that I could think of, and that we could think when I discussed with him. Right now in this meta.
Yeah, because like at the beginning of the season, I know one of the most exciting times I've ever queued was I was playing RM Fire Mage, like Assass RM Pala, and we played 21 RMPs in a row.
Yeah.
And we won all 21 of them.
Yeah, easy points. Yeah. And you said this was prior to 8.1?
Right at the beginning of the season.
Oh yeah, so you had double sack, and it was so good. And even in 8.1, you know, minus the sack, it's like it's so good because that Pally provides so much with that Hodge. And even if they play repent too, like because they can hodge into repent, and that's and that's more burst your mage can just focus on damage. You know, right? He doesn't have to focus on getting that poly out until later because your pally is providing so much, you know, to the table.
Does Pally CC DR with any of the mage stuff? I don't think it does it?
Repentance does your poly because repent is an in cap. So yeah.
Okay. So but Hodge doesn't. Does that count? Does that DR with any of the rogue stuff?
Yeah, so a big thing why RM Pally is so good right now is because the rogue meta is assassination, right? So the assassination rogue, so kidney does DR with Hodge, but the thing with that is that your rogue's kidney shot is usually on kill target. Right. So
you hodge the other target.
So you hodge the healer into a CC, and that's why it's so good, because your pally doesn't have to worry about, you know, Hodge being DR, because your rogue isn't probably not going to go for a vanish cheap shot unless your pally says, listen, I can't get in there for a Hodge. And then and your mage says, listen, I can't get this poly off. This guy's kiting me too well. And then you go for the vanish cheap shot, you know, into a poly, into a blind. And that's when you'll see Hodge DRing, you know, with the rogue stun. But necessarily it's just like the pally should be able to run in there and get that Hodge. And then, you know, your rogue mage just, you know, bursts into the kidney. So yeah, so that's one comp I can say that when I played RM Pally prior to 8.1, because I did play a lot of RM Pally or RMP in 8. Prior to 8.1, we ran into like a lot of RM Pallies and we were losing because it was just so hard, you know. And like you said, you won 21 games or whatever against RMP as RM Pally. So even now in 8.1, I would say like RM Pally is like very, very hard, if not counters RMP.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the only one I can think of really as far as like what counters RMP. I can tell you, like in the current meta, like the wizard meta that we're in, you know, wizards are hard for RMP right now because of the priest. You know, we discussed this earlier in saying that the priests, you know, they don't have a large mana pool. You know, especially when you're playing against these wizard teams that are like essentially one-shotting your, you know, someone, you know, with Incarn or like a G-Pie or a Chaos Bolt. You know, your priest, it's very hard for the priest to heal through that, you know, because you just run out of cooldowns, like, and there's only so much your mage and your rogue can stop. You know, eventually you're going to see a huge Chaos Bolt flying through the air. You're going to see a G-Pie flying through the air. You know, it's very hard, you know, for RMP to play against wizards right now. That from what I've seen, but not saying that, you know, you can't beat wizards. It's just it's hard if you don't properly get that snowball going, you know, and that setup going.
All right. So talking about your different strategies, then I think we've kind of hinted at this, but just I want to put this out clearly. What's your what is the winning strat? Like, what do you guys consider? If I do this, and this, it's a W.
So what I like, and you know, and I queued a couple days, and so I remember this. We played a lot of like wizard teams. So for example, we would play like, you know, we were RMP and we played against Mistweaver Monk, which you see a lot with wizards right now. Mistweaver Monk, Fire Mage, and Destrolock. So the mage is usually sitting in invis. We'll usually wait the mage out. If we can get a sap on the mage, And then we would probably 9 times out of 10, we would always try to open on the Mistweaver Monk just to try to get that trinket bubble. It's like we were discussing earlier, it's RMP is all about the opener. So if you can get a big cooldown like bubble trinket without using Vendetta, you know, that's usually next kidney is the monk's probably dead. And it's funny because I have a pretty good clip of us actually facing like a wizard team and a Mistweaver Monk where we just went Mistweaver because our first go like allowed us to go him on the second go because we got like bubble trinket. So we usually, like for example, like I was saying, we usually like try to get a sap on the mage, you know, cheap shot the Destrolock into like either a poly or fear, and then just completely just blow everything on the Mistweaver monk, trying to get try to get bubble or trinket. And then from there, you can basically do anything on the second go. That the monk is usually pretty scared at that point, because he used so much, so
I'd be scared too.
And that's the same thing with like against the holy pally too. Like, let's just change the scenario where it's a holy pally, healing a destro lock and a fire mage, sapping the destro lock, or cheap shotting the destro lock, sapping the mage, and opening big on the pally. You want to get that big cooldown, that bubble on them. So I would say 9 times out of 10 we would always try to open the healer, because of that triple CC that RMP provides in the beginning. But it's hard to do sometimes, with like gate, and the destro lock trying to get you out of stealth. But normally 9 times out of 10 you can get a good opener against a good wizard team.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say.
So essentially, it's down to getting the good opener, and then by getting the good opener, getting some cooldown,
right? And
by doing that forces the back foot, which then you can expose using your other cooldowns to basically blow somebody up.
So the first go as RMP is normally trying to get a big cooldown, like a Mistweaver bubble, Holy Pally bubble, paints up against a priest, and then usually once you get those cooldowns and you didn't score a kill just by complete luck, you usually kind of just try to run away against wizards. And I'm talking a lot about wizards because they're the meta right now. And so like if anyone out there listening is playing RMP in 8.1, you try to get those big cooldowns from the healers, and then there's no problem in running, because usually what they're going to do, if they survive the first go against RMP, they're going to try to reverse it, and they're going to pop Incarn, they're going to pop Dark Soul, they're going to pop they're going to try to reverse the pressure. So as soon as you see Incarn, you just run, just literally just pillar your whole team just pillars, and then even if it looks stupid, you're running for 30 seconds. Like you don't want to give up that pressure. Like you got what you wanted on the first go, run. Just try to get a reset going. Your rogue tries to focus on re-stealthing, because re-stealths are huge as assassination, because like I said, subterfuge. And you got what you wanted, and you get the hell out of there against wizards. And then you try to rinse and repeat. Even if you don't get a re-stealth, throw out your blind and go, or
Exactly. In Garrusar, that's exactly what the wisdom that kind of like was trying to be the silver lining between me and Winstead's points, where okay, yes, sometimes you do want to try to run away, but if that's not always your best move, it's not a cookie cuttered just like here are your 2 options as an RMP,
in this current meta and in this current patch, I want to say for those listening, I would say big cooldowns, big offensive cooldowns that wizards throw out. So if you see Incarn, run. If you see Dark Soul, run. Those are like, everyone on your team should never argue about running away from Incarn. If you see Incarn, like it's mana that your priest doesn't need to use. If you try to reduce that damage, it's you don't want to take a chaos bolt to the face with Dark Souls up. Like it's just unnecessary. You got what you wanted, you got that trinket, you got that bubble, just get out of there and try to just like annoy them by running, and essentially them running after you too, them running after you because they have cooldowns up, that can also bite them in the ass too. Sorry, excuse my language, but they're pushing in, so that they're also, they can be caught off guard too on your second go, when that's, when that second kidney shot's back up. You don't necessarily need to run for the full Incarn, but you want to align right away, because you got what you wanted. You got that trinket, you got that bubble. So just LOS. There's nothing else you're gonna do. Kidneys on cooldown. A lot of 8.1 RMP is your goes are on your kidney shots. Like the rogue doesn't really have much pressure to get out without kidney shot.
Good to know. All right. Andolin.
You want to move
I know
on?
I think we're ready for the next question.
Okay, let's do it. All right.
Let's do it.
So Winstead's not here, so we're gonna ask him for you.
Oh shoot! You didn't read my note. You're not in the show notes.
I am in your.
God damn it!
What are you talking about?
Did we do?
Here, sir.
Oh, Andolin. All right, so we know now how to win. Have we learned how to kill them?
How to beat RMP then, right?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were gonna do the one thing you were saying.
No, that's Winstead's. That's his other favorite question. Sorry.
Well, how was I supposed to know?
Because
That's
those are his favorite questions.
Oh, I thought his favorite question
not
was
that
how
hard
to.
here, sir.
Okay. I will shut up then. All right. I love you guys. I do. All right. I'll shut up. Go, Andolin. Do your thing. I'll edit that out.
Oh man, I want to give my best Winstead impression now.
You are.
How do we kill you?
So how to?
Oh no.
Yeah. So how to beat RMP? I would say, right now in this current meta, I would say just try to outlast. Try to stop the goes. The one thing with RMP is that when an RMP goes, it's extremely obvious. So if you're playing like wizard cleave into RMP, usually if the priest is pushing in, try to either spam polys on the mage when they're trying to get that second poly off. It's all about stopping the mage's CC. Like that's another thing too. If you can stop the mage's CC, you stop the pressure, because the mage can't the mage can't like resheep, and if you can stop the re, then you basically stop the go. Like you can survive pretty easily. So if anyone's out there listening and playing wizard, usually the first poly is not that scary because you can still peel, but you always want to try to stop the second poly. So I would say best way to beat an RMP is just to stop the goes. Like if you see it coming, if you see Kidney go out and you're not in CC, you're that second DPS, try to stop and interrupt the polys that are going on the healer, or put hams if you're a warrior, and try to put a hamstring on the priest, or if you're a rogue, try to throw at the priest running in for a fear to get crippling up. It's all about just stopping that setup. And it all like I said, it all happens when Kidney happens. So if you see Kidney go out, that's a go. Like try to stop the next poly, or try to stop the poly coming.
That's the oh crap, we need to stop this kind of thing.
So
that's
right. You see a Kidney shot, that there's usually a mage, casting poly somewhere, right after that, and meteoring into the Kidney, or GPying into the Kidney. If you can stop the setup, then you essentially can eventually just run the priest because like they can't handle dampening. They usually just go pretty quick.
Okay, interesting. I guess that's the thing that's always interesting with RMP seeming so full of tools and just so advantageous to be able to win, that simply stopping a few CCs, or even just one, equals to the win. It's
big,
like that kind of blows my brain, like, because RMP has always seemed like the best of the best as far as all the, and I know they've done a bunch of changes to kind of mitigate that and make it that whole,
that's why it's hard to play though, like that's why RMP is hard to play. It's still tier 1, but it requires a lot of practice. It's one of those comps you can't just like
tier 1 with knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. It's really hard to just go into LFG, as a rogue, as a mage, as a priest, and finding those two and just having instant success. I always tell people that come by my stream and ask me like, oh, how do I play RMP? I want to play RMP at a high level. I just tell them straight up, like, find a mage, find a priest that are, that you're willing to build synergy with. Like it requires a lot of synergy. I can't tell you how many times, like, playing BFA, like, playing with just this priest and this random priest and this random mage, that I have never really played with before, and we didn't have that instant success. It's extremely hard. Maybe as RM Pally, because RM Pally is a little easier to play with the setup and because of the Hodge and whatnot. But RMP, RM Priest has a lot more. It's less forgiving because it requires that synergy, it requires that communication. Like if you're gonna just try to find an LFG RMP and not be on voice chat, like good luck.
You're not
good luck. Yeah, good luck. Yeah. You really have to find
you might get 1800. Good luck.
You have to find a good mage that can see see the arena and see all the CC. Like right now, I queued RMP at like 2800 MMR recently, and it was with the mage that doesn't use his mic. And wow. So we were around like 2.9 MMR, and he doesn't use a mic. And it's when I first started playing with him, it was a little frustrating because I'm very talkative when it comes to arena. Like I've always been. Yeah. I love to communicate. I love to, even if it's not even like, if the mage CS is, I'll call it out. Like free cast. Like it's just, communication is key, right? And so playing.
Well, it's PvP.
Exactly. So when I first started playing with this guy, I was a little frustrated at first, but then I started realizing like he knew what to do. Like if he saw something out there, like if he saw like a blind, he knows to poly off. Obviously, if I used a vanish and cheap shot the healer, if we're playing against a resto druid in caster, he knows to go for the poly. So you have to find a good mage that knows exactly what to do in those type of situations. But I would say try to find a team that is willing to get on voice chat, is willing to build that synergy. And, if you enjoy playing with them, add them on Real ID and just keep playing and keep practicing, because RMP is one of those comps that you can't just go right ahead and start seeing instant success. You gotta keep practicing. It's a comp that it requires a lot of synergy and a lot of communication and setup. So
it's not just a walk into and learn. It's okay. Before we get into the next section, which is positioning, it's something that kind of popped into my brain a couple times, and I know I didn't put this here, so this is kind of off the cuff. The add-ons. Is there a requirement for add-ons for RMP, or is that just like, is that a crutch? Is it a need to? And if so, how much? Like what are we talking about here?
So my philosophy on add-ons have always been, if you don't plan on playing at BlizzCon anytime soon or winning BlizzCon, get as much add-ons as you can. Yeah. Like, don't be ashamed that you're, if you're just on the ladder, if you're playing on the ladder for fun and you're trying to go for rank 1, you're trying to go for your first Glad or your, the Glad mount. It doesn't matter if your UI looks like the space station UI or like some Star Trek UI, because you have everything there. I would say don't be ashamed of getting as many add-ons as you can, because it provides all the information. And like I said, like I like to communicate to my team. So if I'm using like Gladius and it has like a DR tracker, like I'll openly tell my mage, hey, sheep's off DR in like 2 seconds. Get ready. Like I got kidney. Let's get ready to go here. So add-ons, I would say RMP and add-ons, it's a must-have in my opinion. Like if you're not going to try to play, win BlizzCon next year or this year, get add-ons, because they do help a lot.
Okay. And that makes sense, because I mean, I've heard numerous times how much RMP requires add-ons, almost like just to track everything.
Oh yeah, like there's DRs, you still want to track the DRs, you still want to track like fear and blind, sheep DR, and it's even if you're the mage on the team and you're the only person that has to you only have to worry about sheep DRs. It's still worth seeing the fear DR, the blind DR, because you can communicate that to your team. There's no wrong in communicating the information that you see on your screen. Like, none at all. And add-ons, and that's what add-ons provide. They provide that information, So
And that's why you see such a big shift between, teams that can play a really strong RMP across your cups. When they come to a LAN, it's a little bit of a different story because now all of a sudden it's like, holy goodness, I watched a little video of how Waz was explaining what he does. Is he takes the in-game stopwatch and has a keybind to where he essentially does his own DR tracker with the in-game stopwatch and has to mentally count everything else.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the same thing. Azaziel, he used to do the same thing with his. He had a macro which would start a stopwatch whenever he did his CCs, so you could count his DRs.
Yeah, and that's like that's what I mean when I say if you don't plan on playing in these these local the LAN tourneys that Blizzard holds, where one of the big rules is no third party add-ons. If you're playing on the ladder and you're trying to improve, I would just download as much add-ons as you can. That it also makes you a better player too. Like it does. When I throw out blind, I don't constantly look at Gladius. Like I know, okay, blind's coming up on DR. The add-on just assures me that it's blind's coming off DR or sheep's coming off DR. So it's just it makes you a better player because you see that information.
Right. Like for me as a healer, one of the best things that I've been able to do is actually like to track the other team's kick, right? And that was one of the big things that like early on set me like to where I was like, hey, I'm starting to get the hang of this now.
Yeah,
because I know when I'm casting into an available kick, and I know when I'm casting into no kicks available, because it makes a difference in my gameplay,
Yep.
And so being able to do that and just being able to have that knowledge without having to, try to find some mental gymnastics to be able to get it is really a huge, huge advantage.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I was talking about DR trackers and whatnot, and that's there's things like Omni CC that shows you, it tells you interrupts, it tells you like big cooldowns, and you can set these add-ons up and where it will say, okay, paint sup was used, it's back up and however whatever the cooldown is, right? So you can with these add-ons, they tell you your windows of opportunity and how long you have. So if that this team doesn't have paints up, they don't have Mistweaver bubble, that tells you right there your next go is going to be strong, and so you can score a kill because they're missing this big cooldown. So having that information as RMP is just massive, because RMP is so strong. It's all about your goes. And
it's just match.
Yep, exactly.
So, I find it interesting because it was a conversation I had a few times, and it was kind of highlighted at the last BlizzCon about the differences in add-on availability to the MDI versus the Arena Cups.
Arena, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I can see the differences in how, one versus the other, like what's how it should be available, all that stuff. That said, it's curious how in the game, albeit two different ways of playing the game, PvE is obviously way different than PvP. I do see that I think some revisions should be made, and that some add-ons should be made available in some form or fashion on PvP if it's available on the PvE side.
I agree.
Or they should just like scrap it all and make PvEers on the MDI do all that without any add-ons.
I feel like they're two separate things though,
Yeah.
And so like, in the same way that if one league wants to say these are their rules, but this is what we're going to say, then that doesn't really have any impact on another league's rules.
Yeah.
They're independent. The MDI and the Arena World Championship, in my opinion, are independent. Just because just because like what are you going to say that like now arenas must be 5v5 because there's 5 players in an MDI and there's only 3 in arenas? Like no.
Mm.
But like
fair
you know
enough.
they're independent. So like, you know,
Okay, it's interesting because I consider them the same game, just different versions of it.
Yeah.
So
I think
sure,
it's
yeah.
a little. I think it's different because it's more acceptable on the PV side because it's, you know, you got the human versus computer rather than like human versus human, where like you know maybe this person is using one at this add-on and the other team's not, so they won because this team is using this add-on and the other team's not. You know, so in MDI, it's just like you're using PVE add-ons and you're not really, you know, maybe all. I guess they would all have to use the same add-ons, huh? If it,
yeah,
MDI.
that's what I'm thinking.
So
If you're gonna do that, make it so it's like
because I'm not.
these are acceptable add-ons. You
Yeah.
can use them or use not.
I think that
Like-
would have to
like,
be it, right?
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but at least there's these ones that are available.
Maybe that's.
Does that
I
make
don't
sense?
really know the ruling on MDI add-ons and like, or if even if they do
I don't
allow
know.
add-ons, like,
Yeah.
but you know, my opinion personally, when it comes to PvP, since we're discussing PvP, I think add-ons should be allowed, but I think they should be controlled, like certain add-ons, you know, like Gladius
True.
or something, or you know, Omni CC is okay, but like, you know, maybe allow like 3 or 4 certain add-ons and then that's it. If you decide you don't want to use these add-ons, fine, that's, you know, that's up to you or something. You know, you give those players the option, and you know, because half the time they're going in there with scripts anyway. Like I've seen,
Yeah.
you know, I used to play with Collective back in Kata and Mop. Collective is one of the most notorious shamans, resto shamans, you know, in making scripts, and like a lot of his add-ons, you know, are you still used to this day. You know, half of these, you know, some of these guys just go in there with scripts anyway and creating their own add-ons.
Yeah.
So why not just let them, you know, let them use Gladius or let them use Omni CC.
But, yeah, they have a wide variety of scripts they run.
Yeah.
I think if anything, considering because they're on tournament realm, so it's not necessarily live.
Right.
There's a possibility of some differences there
Mhm.
because, I mean, we've seen that before where, you know, a patch has come through, but the tournament realm is actually on the previous patch.
That's true. Yeah.
We've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So I think an add-on as simple as like details or any other combat log add-on would be more than acceptable in allowing these players to be able to at least ascertain what's changed or make sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, right? Because those differences can mean life or death when you're talking about a tournament, right? So okay, totally off the rails. That was awesome. I love that discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Quick analysis. RMP always been one of the most used compositions for 3v3. Even in outside of RMP, like I remember in RBGs for the longest time, a quick little RMP group was always required for the attack zones, right up until I think right up until WAD, if I'm not mistaken. And even now, like I'm sure, like an RMP group in a RBG would quickly assassinate any flag carrier. Is there any other analysis you guys feel about the whole comp or usage thereof?
It's a big proponent for synergy,
Yeah.
right? So like, you know, and that's one thing that a lot of people will, you know, you'll realize is, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, we got to play some RMP, you know, because of, you know, whatever reason, but they think it's just good to just play it, but you'll play it, you'll be like, we're just getting slapped, like, you know. And so it kind of it kind of takes there needs to be an element of synergy there where people need to be on the same page of being able to control because it doesn't work if just your rogue is trying to control, or just your mage is trying to control. If they got to be working in harmony, and so the difference between an RMP that kind of is at least on the same page versus an RMP that's just like, hey, you're my mage that queued up and you're my rogue that queued up. I want you guys to go to blacksmith and beat the 3v3 comp. The difference between that is like minutes and minutes and minutes of actual 3v3 play.
Yeah, I think like he was saying, like I think an RMP, like sure, like you can have I've been in RBGs recently where RMP is in the composition, but it wasn't like specifically put like, hey, we need a rogue mage priest because RMP is considered a tier 1/3s comp. There's still, sure, you can send an RMP up to like LM and try to take LM. They'll eventually get it, but at the same time they won't be able to hold for that long.
Right.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's just there's some synergy aspects to it that where RMP strives in arena, you won't see it as strong in RBGs because it's so good in arena. It just there's reasons why RMP is so strong in arena. Because it's in arena. It's 3v3 situation where RBGs, you can get that flag, but as soon as the team comes and helps out, they're not going to be able to hold it, for very long.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. All right, Adeline. Since Winston's not here.
Yeah. Again. Well, I mean, like take 2 of this.
Yes. On you, man. You on it?
All right. I got it. So how do we? I'm just kidding. So what is one thing? We always ask this. What is one thing that you would change? So we say you are given a chance to speak to the devs. You're right there, and they're hanging on your every word, ready to hang on your every word, and you've got all the budget. Everything's possible as long as it's plausible. What is one thing that you would change, maybe about how RMP works, or just what's one thing that you would change having to do with RMP?
If we're talking about RMP nowadays, like 8.1 RMP, honestly, I would not, and this is going to sound crazy, and the comp itself, I would say I wouldn't change anything about it. I mean, RMP has been a beautiful comp, ever since the beginning, and I think it doesn't really. The classes, they synergize so well and complement each other so well that it's really hard to say, like, specifically as a comp what I would want to change. I can tell you, like, just from a rogue standpoint, I wish that subtlety was a little stronger. That way I can go back to playing, what I'm comfortable with and playing subtlety with the Frost Mage. But that's just class specifics, like as a comp in general. I would say, I don't know. It's really hard to say what I would change because RMP has been so good for so long that I feel like if I were to say one thing like, oh, let's change this, it would just make it broken, like super overpowered where like, you would just see RMP all over the ladder and just would be too much. I think RMP is just, it's at a state where it's just like, it's just right to fit in the ladder right now. It's not super overpowered. It's not super underpowered. You can still make it work. And that's why it's still considered a tier 1 comp. You just need to put the work in and the effort in and, to make it actually work.
Yeah. And it stood the test of time really as well,
Definitely. And that's why it's such a good comp. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing that, hey, we're here in 2019 and RMP's still around. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's WLD where WLD fell off the face of the earth after, after MOP and WAD, where WLD was super strong in Kata. Yeah. But
what's WLD?
Warrior Locked
I've never
Druid.
heard that before. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm being facetious.
Yeah, you don't see that anymore, especially nowadays.
Nope. All right.
Well, just locks in general, yeah.
No, Lost are a little bit better. But
Yeah, a little bit.
Endlin, what is one thing you would change about RMP?
One thing I would change about the RMP,
Mm-hmm.
I think it. I don't know. I'm trying to make it something that isn't like having to do with just the mage or just the rogue, but like the comp itself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's tough, right?
yeah, it is tough. It is tough. I I really like how RMP for like requires you to have a strong amount of discipline and be like incredibly attentive to detail.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that about this comp. So I think what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to be able to like just say like if what I'd like to change about RMP is kind of like a double negative where I'd like to kind of see a little more comps kind of become like RMP. I feel like RMP has a lot of depth. I'd like to see the RMP model of maybe a little bit higher skill cap comps coming into a play. And that's not to say that there aren't. I would just like to see something of that nature where it's something that you can rehearse, something that is.
So you're saying like comps that require more finesse, like as RMP does.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And not just require, like you get rewarded for the finesse, and like it's just impressive and it feels good because you're like, holy cow, we just did that.
Yeah, there's nothing. I think my favorite thing about RMP is blowing a healer up or blowing someone up and seeing everyone on the team is CC'd, is controlled in one way, because you allowed that as a team collectively. You allowed that to happen. You guys set that up. You were rewarded with the kill. There was nothing that the other team can do. You know, some comps are just like, oh, healer was feared and, you know, I got one shot. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, like there's nothing I could have stopped. Hey, I kicked Chaos Bolt, but I got G-Pied for 28K. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's nothing more I could have done there, dude. Sorry. You know, with RMP, when you lose to an RMP, it's like, well, hey, we got outplayed. You know, they triple CC'd us and then blew someone up. So I agree with that the finesse, more comps that require more finesse and more setup and more reward too.
I'm gonna say, and this is gonna break RMP. I know it, but I'm gonna say, I would like RMP. So, let me be clear on this. I would like Rogue to not be able to interact with other stealth objects.
So not being able to like sap another rogue. Okay.
Yeah. So, because I mean, if they're stealth, like, why are you able to run around and sap somebody that you can't see?
Okay.
I think that would, and I know it's going to break. It's going to totally game change, right? But I think that is, RP wise, it makes sense. Because you can't target them anyways. The only reason why you're able to do it is because of a macro. Right?
Yeah,
so,
but stealth just means, well, you're able to target them. The macro just makes it faster, hopefully, than the other alternative.
So if that's the case, so here's the question then. If a rogue can target and then sap another stealth target, then why can I not target and cast an AoE or no? Why can I not cast a spell against that stealth target? If I'm a mage, I can't target that guy and then cast a spell on them.
Sure you can.
No, I can't.
Sure you can.
Nope.
Because like there's a time when they'll like, so when they're stealth, they're just being concealed. Like sometimes you can find them in stealth. I find rogues in stealth. Yeah.
I cannot, as a mage, I cannot target a stealth rogue or an invised mage. I can't cast a spell on them.
The only time you
I
can
cannot
ever do that
target
is if they're like standing stealth right next to you. But like half the time,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of just like throw a
Yeah.
Nova out, right? If you see a
Mhm.
you like
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
That's an AOE. That's just like that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
targeted.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah, well,
But
I think.
but
Yeah.
I can't see I can't see why
You.
I can't see why a rogue can run around and click a button
Right,
because of
right.
macro and sap
No,
something
I
they
see your
can't
point,
see.
and that would also
Yeah.
that would make RMP a lot more fun to watch too. Because another thing too is like if an RMP mirror, if the rogue saps another rogue, you could do so much
Oh, it's
with
game
that.
over.
You're already
game over.
ahead.
Yeah.
Like by just sapping the rogue,
Mhm.
you're ahead instantly because you can either
Yep.
you know cheap shot mage into sheep, blow up the priest, get paints up, and you're already ahead. Poly the rogue,
yep.
poly the rogue
Yeah,
out of
but-
the sap, fear rogue. If you really want to go hard and keep going on the priest, like there's just so much that goes into getting a rogue sap. Like you can even open on the rogue, like cheap shot the priest in the poly,
Yeah.
garrote mage into fear and
Yeah.
open rogue, full kidney
Yeah.
rogue.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
fact that you got the rogue
Yeah.
out, you're just ahead. And with what you
It's game
said,
over.
that would
It's- Mhm.
that would make RMPs like the first RMP that goes, the RMP that's getting opened on has to stop that go. And if you stop that go, you can either
Yeah.
reverse it or maybe you messed up in stopping it.
The skill cap
It
just got
higher.
much
Yeah,
bigger.
definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I
Yeah, that
think
would be
that would be-
interesting to see. I mean, that's normally how RMP mirrors go right now because you rarely ever do see a rogue getting sapped out. It's usually just like one RMP just saying committed, like staying committed and just saying, all right, let's go, let's open. And then the rogue either gets cheap shotted or they stop it. But
Right.
it usually comes down to like one team going first and then the other team stopping it, and then you got yourself a game. Like.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
change, though. I like it.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, hey, I think that pretty much covers that much. We are so far into this. Oh, wow. All right.
I know.
Okay. Let us get into the actual news, though, for PvP.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
I think I clicked the
Santa
wrong one.
Claus?
Oh, I didn't rename those. Whatever. Okay. So while PvP news, whole butt ton of stuff has happened since the last podcast we did. Let's roll through this, guys. I mean, seriously, let's talk about what's important, what we feel is important, and we can glaze over the rest of it. I mean, we can just talk about it. But first and foremost, hot fixes. There's been a bunch since our last episode. Like feral druids and frost mages, they got a flat buff straight across the board. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I was really surprised by the fact that feral druids alone got a buff.
Yeah.
The frost mages,
Yeah.
that kind of made sense, but feral druids,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Hey, questions, comments, concerns, anything? Come on. Like,
Mhm.
Trying to see
What
like
do you
okay,
think?
so they got
Mostly
like
concerns.
damage buffs, and then they obviously got clone back, right? Just trying to get on the same page here. I'm looking at the notes.
Okay, so fair enough. Let's back a bit. Wow. Oh my gosh, there's been so much, and to try to weed through the PvE and the PvP, this is hard. Where? Okay, so what was it? So they got I think it was like a 7% buff across the board
Mhm.
on PvP, or just like damage period. Right? That
Damage
was straight
period,
across
yeah.
the board.
And then they also got clone back with that. I think those were the two big ones. But I saw, like,
yeah.
I saw like Bean tweeting about that. He was super excited that he got clone back. Let's see.
Oh wow, this is good podcasting right here. I hope our listeners really like it. Not seeing, no, I'm not seeing the exact on that, but yeah, I want to say I heard the same thing where clone was no longer tied to just a single spec. I thought it was like all could have it. All druid specs could have cyclone.
Yeah, and that's why ferals essentially got buffed, because they could cast clone now.
Well,
They didn't have it before, right? If I remember.
no,
correctly.
yeah, that was the big thing that they didn't have
Yeah.
before. But yeah, they did. But the other thing was, I mean, they got a flat across they
That's
were always
like-
they
that's
were
a lot of
already
damage.
killing people.
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
were, and it was like,
Ferocious bites just one-shotting you. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
All right, okay. Let's see here. So, okay, I'm gonna have to back off this. I'll find out the data later. If anybody's listening and thinks we're wrong, please let us know. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so Unholy DKs, Boomkins, and Elishams got nerfs as well. There's also a latest update which happened just yesterday, I think it was, and that was pretty important. A slight PvP change, and that was pardon me. So they changed the fight, a change with Temple Kotmogu. So they apparently, remember when they changed where like you couldn't mount and then your ball would drop, you do that on purpose. They changed it, but apparently they didn't do it for all mounts. Apparently there's a couple mounts, so they fixed that. The other thing I found really interesting was with Shaman, the Counter-Strike totem that they have on the PvP talent will no longer aggro nearby critters when casted. I wish I'd known that about that before. I would have made sure that I had my little pet out to kill the stupid Counter-Strike totem that was killing myself. Really? Okay, no comment. Let's hear what else.
Should know better.
I should have known better. I should have. Botar. You guys see the thing about Botar getting
I
banned?
didn't know what happened with that.
So he got banned for all of 2019 for something he did outside of tournament last year.
Okay. Misconduct out. I see that. Yikes.
So I don't want to talk about the specifics because I don't know what happened there, but personally, I see this as being what was happening in things like the GCD TV, or not. Sorry, wow, the things that were happening during Overwatch and how Overwatch was dealing with professional players,
Mm-hmm.
and how your morals and ethics outside of the playing field impacts your ability to play on the playing field. And I see this as being that is just like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was alleged, but whatever it is, it was enough that Botar will not be playing during 2019. This is actually really important considering what happened and how Botar was brought on to the Tempo Storm roster for the Arena World Cup with Alec. And I'm kind of curious what's going to happen there with this year, right? Because he was brought on specifically for that reason. So,
right.
Let's hear what else. Do you guys see the QAs that happened during the 13th and the 14th?
I remember.
I know this
watching
is a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember watching. I just don't recall. I think they cover what they covered a lot of. Was it PvE as well? Did they even cover any PvP, or was it a?
Yeah, that's a darn good question. So there wasn't much. There was always PvE centric.
Yeah.
I don't know. I put in some links here. I'll make sure I put these out to the show notes as well. So listeners, if you're wondering what we're talking about, hit those, please. I saw essentially, so there's two, they're back to back. One was really, it was really weird, like where Ian tried to do one just specifically to the Greek crowd, try to reach out back to his heritage, I guess.
Oh, what?
But yeah, anyway, it was weird. He did drop one really interesting thing. There was some people talking about PvP stuff. He did talk about the 3 PvP characteristics of burst, mobility, and CC, and how they should be balanced in a spec, a class. How does that balance out and everything else? I really liked his answer though. As soon as my webpage starts working again, where did that go? Crap. Okay, there it is. So yeah, so it was really neat because he acknowledged right off the bat. He's like, I'm not an expert. I don't know PvP. I don't know the nuances of PvP balance, but he did acknowledge the fact that there's how they think about their development, and they're not specifically looking at like everything being, homogenous and everything being the same, but balancing not just balancing your burst versus your CC versus your mobility. So if you're super mobile, but you're going to be squishy,
right?
Because if you're super mobile and you get locked down, you're going to get squashed. Versus if you're tanky, that's different. How does burst work into that, and how does your ability to CC work into that and everything?
Mm-hmm.
So really interesting. It kind of brought into that development side of the thought process, and I think that really answers a lot of people's comments about PvP isn't balanced. And I think, well, no, I'm sure we can all agree PvP is not balanced.
Yeah,
because everything is not the same, right?
Right.
And anybody, let me say this: if anybody complains about PvP not being balanced, I would suspect that you have not gone outside and experienced life.
Yeah, true. And like a lot of people like this, it's just people need to also realize that sure, we have a love for PvP and passion for PvP. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like these decisions Blizzard make, like they're all revolve around PvE. Like at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So,
totally.
It's interesting to see, his response to a question like that, on a Q&A, and you kind of get to see how Blizzard's like mentality is when it comes to balancing and whatnot. But yeah.
No, I think you're right. Is that PvE definitely has an impact. What was I gonna say? The tuning knobs that were implemented in the systems during Legion, I think are what are definitely changing, because I mean, you said you played since day one or day zero, right? Like,
yeah.
Remember back in the day when they make a change and then all of a sudden like that one class would become, oh my gosh, OP.
Right. Yeah, in
during
both
PvP.
aspects. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now they're able to differentiate the two, so they can make a tune in PvE and not affect PvP. And I think that's a huge difference, because I was really getting like that has definitely limited the flavor of the month, because I was getting really tired during even like Wrath, Mop, and Kata even, where one class would get buffed and all of a sudden like that comp or that class would ride the ladder all the way to Glad, kind of almost.
Yeah.
It was the flavor of the month. The flavor of the month still exists, but the flavor of the month is definitely limited in PvP.
Yeah. It's nice that Blizzard has the control. Like that 3-part question was, mobility, CC and burst, right? So they have the power to control burst now, because they're able to, mitigate, lower the percentage of damage in PvP and keep it the same in PvE. As far as like mobility and CC, I think that just comes with like balancing classes as expansions go, because they want to introduce new spells, sometimes new classes. So then you get these different, these new spells of like mobility and CC. So it's a little hard to balance around that part, but it's nice to see that they can balance around burst now, so they're making improvements, towards that.
I want to roll that back to even to our discussion about RMP is of all those three CC they can tune,
right?
Burst they can tune, mobility they haven't really tuned. And if you want to talk about RMP, Mage mobility is insane.
Yeah.
Rogue mobility is insane.
Right.
So if we want to talk about that specifically to our comp that we've been talking about, I would say of all the comps, those two aspects of the conversation have not been tuned, but have been tuned around, because like you said, if you stop the go, or if we do something on this other side of the battle to lock that comp down, there is the opportunity to definitely counter
to survive or counter, right?
Survive and change the momentum, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah. That's one thing too. Like RMP has not, as far as mobility and CC, RMP has been pretty consistent throughout the years. So I haven't really seen too many new, like, it's always been like either kidney shots used for CC, or it's used for killing someone. Cheap shots used for CC, or if it's used to, for killing someone. It's been pretty universal through the years. And you haven't really seen anything drastic with RMP changing.
Well, and then the smoke bomb didn't help.
Yeah, smoke bomb was just another like, oh my god, like now we got to deal with this. Like, yeah, it's so funny.
It's amazing that it took me 2 hours to realize we never talked about that.
That's right.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. So there was a second Q&A done by Ian Oscosis back on the 14th. Again, not much about PvP. The only thing he really talked about was the question, like, why do we need to wait until season 2 for Mythic Plus, yada yada yada, and the gear essentially came down to is because you gotta. I mean, we saw it during Legion where they tried to change seasons of Mythic Plus and PvP in between raid seasons, and it really screwed up the gearing. It causes a whole bunch of issues. I get it. I would have loved to see season 2 start when 8.1 dropped. I don't know about you, RZN. I'm sure it was the same.
Yeah, same. I wish they started on a fresh, like playing ground, because now you have like one issue right now, like with the ladder, the season's going to come to an end soon, and you're going to start seeing these like rank 1 pushes and whatnot. And I saw somewhere, like I was watching Naj's stream, or I think it was Pam's stream. He's a 3K disc priest. Apparently there's a rumor going around that Blizzard is going to implement where people like the first 2 pages of the in order to get rank 1, to score rank 1, you need to play 20 games.
No.
Is that just okay? Was it okay? All right, cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
but that also
so
causes a problem.
For it, though. I love it.
That's the thing, though. It's just like when you introduce, and that goes back to what I was saying. That when you introduce a new patch at the end of a season, you get teams that just sit rating. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah.
Because like their a lot of these RM Pally teams that queued at like 3K plus. Why the hell? Like, there's no reason for them to queue RM Pally anymore, because the ladder isn't filled with RMP. They're just going to be playing these wizard teams that Pally eventually just lose to.
Right, exactly. Like, why? If it's like how can I put this? How can I put this way? If you are if you're the world champion of UFC or boxing or whatever, and you knew that if you play the next game that you're going to lose your world championship,
right?
Why would you play that game?
Exactly.
Like, why would you step in that ring?
Right.
You are the best of the best of the best. If you didn't have to step in the ring, why would you?
Another good analogy would be like, you're the champ of UFC, and Dana White goes, "Oh, your next fight, your championship bout, you can only use one arm." Because they, that's a patch, right?
Yes.
He patched he made new rules. That's basically what a patch is, right? You change the game.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell do you even want to? You can either say yes or no to the fight. Why would you even fight if you can only use one arm? That's basically the same thing, and I don't know why Blizzard does it. They do it with tournaments too. They have these big tournaments come up, but later,
I understand why they made the changes. I totally do. I agree that it's not like I'm anywhere near that point in the ladder. I'm sure anybody that even follows me or tries, like I'm not that high up. Like I understand. I have no invested interest in the high ladder. Like, but I get it. Like you leveled a character and you went through the grind to get yourself to that level, and then and then the playing field decides to change, and you're no longer able to do what you were doing
because the meta shifts.
But then but then people are expecting you to still play, which no, until the next season.
Yeah.
Right? Where everybody then drops back to 0.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like,
it just doesn't.
There's got to be a better way.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way.
There's got to be, and I think. Sorry, we're going to talk about this before, and I'm totally dragging this out. Blizzard tried this. I think this is what the whole in between season was meant to be. Remember when Legion ended and BFA started, and there was a whole like the interim season thing that they did?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
I think this is what it was supposed to be for. Right. But it didn't work out. Something botched.
Yeah.
The systems didn't work out. People were getting rating they were supposed to get it. Achievements were being made that people were supposed to get because of between season and and here we are. And I think this is what was supposed to happen. I think the idea was the grand scheme of things. Okay, 8.1 drops, season 1 ends, interim season, have fun, still play ladder, yada yada yada, right? And then new raid, new season, yada yada. Off we go.
Yeah, that would
have fun.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't know why they decided to just.
But they've got so hung up. I think the better answer would have been is just end the season.
Yeah.
Personally, 8.1 drops, end the season, interim period. Okay, people aren't ladder, whatever. It makes a really fun, random stuff like the skirmishes and your random battlegrounds. Those get really fun when that happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have rank 1 players playing random battlegrounds because they just want to PvP and just have fun. And that's just like super crazy fun, right? And then
I think I know I think I know
off he goes.
What might it be? And if they were to do that, and I'm just completely speculating, I think if they were to end a season and then have like an interim season or like a 1 month gap, I think they don't want to lose people from like unsubscribing because like there's no season or something. You know what I mean? Like there's like, oh, okay, you know what? 8.1's in a month. I'm just gonna, not play this month and then just kind of wait for the next season or something. And I'm just completely speculating. Yeah. Maybe that's from a business standpoint. That's that's their mentality. But who knows really? I mean, at the end of the day, they have all the answers for us. But in a perfect world, I think the season should have ended. An 8.1 drop, and then there should have been like a preseason or something, or like off season. I
love the idea of the off season, like the between season stuff. Like, that's awesome.
Add some rewards. Screw it. Put in some new mounts or tabards or something. Like give the players
not even. No, even
I mean, it could be anything.
If you're playing off season, I don't think you deserve anything.
That's true. I mean,
if you
some sort of incentive would be cool. I mean, it doesn't even have to be some sort of reward, but like, make it still like you can queue rated. You don't completely shut the rated button off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I like the idea of queuing rated outside of the ladder season. But I mean, so how it looks this way. How many people during a summer camp get an attaboy or get any sort of a trophy for
True.
any sort of professional during a summer camp?
Yeah, you don't see anything like in spring training for baseball, like they're getting something for that. It's just
right.
You could kind of all you really see. Like
you play because you play.
Yeah, you see like, oh, okay, this guy was doing great during the off season. Like, look out for this guy when the season starts. Like, that's still excitement. You know what I mean? Like, the ladder's still going. It's just considered an off season. Like, I think that's what they should do.
Right. But they don't get any trophies for it.
Right. True.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the thought. Just had a thought. Thinking about summer camps, spring camps, yada yada yada. What if it forced people to, says, and maybe some sort of a filtering process in the queuing process, but during that season allowed up and comers. So if somebody was able to reach, like, let's say, I don't know, like 2,500 plus, that was a bracket. And then now you're forcing, in a way, if people are queuing in, now they're playing they're playing with people they would no longer really they wouldn't have originally played with, because it's through LFG, right? So it's not through your B tag or anything like that. Now you're introducing the new up and comers to then play with. So it's similar to like the camp style, right? Where now the camp, now you have people that are kind of like B team or the minors or whatever coming up to the pro league kind of thing and playing with, and then the pro league can be like, oh hey that guy, yeah, I'll B tag you, man. You look like you got something going on, yeah. All right, you know what I mean?
That would be cool, yeah. That could definitely be used in an off season. It would be neat.
Yeah. All right. I had my one intelligent moment for the night. Okay. Okay. We need to move on. Holy crap. 220. Okay. So we got, let's see what else happened. News. So we have, we know season 2 is going to start on the 22nd. We know that for sure. I'm sure everybody already seen the whole war mode thing about the up to 30% bonus, right? I don't think we really need. Anyway, essentially, there's a bonus to war mode. It is regional. It is North America, EU, etc. It's not just to your server. Chill, but yeah. Turn war mode on. That's all we gotta say. Elite titles only being used during the season they were earned. Questions, comments, concerns. I have never earned an elite title, so I can't say anything. Oh yeah, this thing, the whole 110 twinks. Did you see this, Endelin?
The 110 twinks?
Yeah. So Blizzard, there was an issue with people who turned off experience gains at 110. But now they twinked out their tunes using BFA gear.
Okay.
I heard that there was a warlock doing like 400k demon bolts.
Wow.
Or maybe 40k, whatever. But like super massive because he's 110. So he was using BFA gear.
Right.
He was getting BFA stats, which is much higher than we had as Legion gear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he was 110, so he had the bonus, the behind mechanic bonuses that they were giving us because they did the squish, right? So these 110 twinks were walking in and walking into not even PvE but PvP stuff, and so try this. Do you guys have a 110 alt?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. So go turn off your experience, and then go do some PvE. Go do some PvE content. Go do some leveling, whatever. Right. Get yourself. Don't even worry about that. Actually, just take your gold and buy some stuff off the auction house. Buy some green gear or some blue gear, whatever you can play, whatever you can wear as a 110.
Okay.
Right? And then go roll yourself into some PvP content.
Like world PvP specifically, or just
Sure. Or go do a random battleground.
okay?
Because at 110, you queue into a 110 or into a battleground. It becomes you become 119, right? It automatically scales you up,
Mhm.
right? And enjoy the numbers.
That's crazy.
That's all I gotta say. Just enjoy the numbers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds like a fun time.
it is. So apparently it's an issue. Blizzard somebody's complained about it. A number of people. Blizzard was acknowledging it. They decided that they were going to turn off the ability to turn off experience turn off
Ooh.
at 110. And that was confusing saying that, but that's what it was. But then a bunch of people uproared and said, please don't do this to us. And so they stopped. They didn't do it. They're trying to find a
Alternative solution.
better way.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's crazy. I never heard about that. That's nutty.
Yeah, I know it is nutty, right?
That's
The first time I heard about it, I was like, meh, whatever. And then I was talking to some people, and they were like there was one guy, he ended up getting solo leveled by a person, and they went through a bunch of dungeons, and like they were like throwing out the massive, like the amount of damage they're pulling out was insane. He was saying,
wow.
He couldn't believe it. He was like, I can't, and he's like, how are you doing this as 110? He's like, oh yeah, and he explained it, and the guy was like, what? Yeah, so
That's crazy.
yeah, making them easy gold. Anyway, yeah. So if you want to do it, by all means, it's your game. Play it how you want to, please. But just be aware, Blizzard is looking in on this, and I'm not gonna say you're gonna get banned or anything, but don't be surprised if all of a sudden you log in one day and you go to do something and you start actually getting experience because reasons. I mean, it makes sense. Like, it's kind of breaking the game in a way that it's not the way the game is supposed to be played.
Right.
But they presented the opportunity for us to do that, right? Because they always, once they presented the opportunity to turn off experience gaining and leveling, I mean, that was always an option. So
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Oh yeah, the end game moves that came out. So there was the opening game moves, the mid game moves, and the end game moves. There's a blog posting putting up on the official World of Warcraft site. I think it was really good. I really enjoyed reading them. I'm not sure if you guys did. I just want to bring it out to the attention of the community. Just excellent blog post talking with professional players. And I think it's one because it talked to especially the pros and what they learned this year. I thought that was a really excellent post. I don't know if you guys have any comments or thoughts about that.
I don't think I saw it,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't think I'll be able to add too much. But yeah, I don't think.
No worries. So my favorite was Swapsy's comment. Where he said, while I am satisfied with my individual performance and preparation, I failed my team as a leader and should have guided them in the work-intensive early stages of the Battle for Azeroth expansion. Even though we invested an absurd amount of time, we could have learned more and prepared better if we did it more efficiently. So,
well, they've got it. There's always room to improve, you know? And I think, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Swapsy because like he's highly regarded as just the WoW brainiac wizard, you know, of like always being able to find an answer to something. So
he is.
Hats off to him, honestly.
I think the part that really pointed out to that, and it was highlighted earlier, even during BlizzCon, was the amount of time that these teams put into gameplay. And actually I want to reach out to you, RZN, because you've done a lot of this before. How much time and effort is put into a person to go from just ladder play to professional play? Like how much?
Oh,
do you
it's
put
I
into
used
that?
to when I played like competitively and like tried to go for rank ones every season, like I was playing like at least 8 to 12 hours a day, which is consistent to what these guys are spending like nowadays. Like a lot of these top, pros and yeah, 8 to 12 hours a day, and I would grind like crazy. And it's funny because a lot of these top players now, and I love telling this story is I used to, like, back when I used to invest 8 to 12 hours a day, like I used to come across a lot of players, right? Because I always was trying to find people to play with. And I came across this one mage who was on the come up, who wasn't necessarily like glad level yet, rank 1 level yet. He was good, but he was progressively getting better, and every time I played with him I saw it. And his name is Sam I Am. No one knew who he was. This was like
That's
around
awesome.
Mop Cat, like it was Mop season 1 and season 2. I was playing 8 to 12 hours a day. Sam was right there trying to like get better. No one really knew who he was. He was on the come up, and he was spending just about the same time, like 8 to 12 hours a day practicing. And he always told me, he used to thank me for playing with him, because like he was really hard to like get your name out there. And I would just pick him up because like I needed to queue some games, and I just wanted to play. So I would pick him up and we would play, and now look at him, BlizzCon champ. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah,
like
right?
I told him like the night he won, I was like, dude, I'm so proud of you. Like seeing where you were,
That's awesome.
4 or 5 years ago to now, it's just crazy. But yeah, just to answer your
incredible.
initial question. Yeah, man, 8 to 12 hours a day. I used to grind, and a lot of these guys still do it too.
So
It's crazy.
So I have the question then. That's 8 to 12 hours on the ladder.
Oh yeah.
How much of the time off the ladder reviewing your?
Oh, all hours, like hours. It's funny. I just finished telling my stream this, like, because like I get all the time, like, how do I get better? How do I improve? And I tell them, and I used to stream, all my games. If I played with someone that didn't want to be streamed, like didn't want their voice to be heard, I would just mute the stream, and I would explain to everyone like, hey, all I cared about was just recording the gameplay. And I would go back, even after my stream, my 9-hour stream, I would go back, go get some food, come back, and I would watch my VODs. I would slow-mo them.
Wow.
I would watch my VODs, look at every composition, even the games we won. I would review those games, review the games that we lost, and I would just keep looking at every little mistake I could have done better. What my team could have done better. So I would say another 2 to 3 hours, like off the ladder, just looking at VODs, watching other streams, watching videos. Back in the day, there used to be like, Warcraft movies. I used to watch PvP movies and dueling too. Dueling, like rogue dueling was like huge back in the day. Like, and outside of
Orgrimmar and outside of Stormwind.
Yeah. Oh man, all the time. Like that's how.
If you're in queue, you're outside there doing your duels while you're waiting for your queue.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. And if you were losing the duel, you just joined arena,
right? So you didn't get credit the loss.
Okay,
that's what I.
Arzian has fled.
So that's a really good point. Is that above all and beyond this is that if you're really interested in getting to that level, like to be understanding what the amount that you need to invest personally is time and review and be honest to yourself, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, there's the new brawl that was introduced, the Cooking Impossible. I actually played this. It was kind of fun. At first I assumed, yes, I didn't read anything. I just jumped right into the BG. It was so much fun. A lot of people really new to it. Nobody told me what to do. I was like, I guess we're supposed to kill Nami. And it was like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. And we showed up and Nami's friendly. No, Nami's friendly. What it is Nami is up on a hill, up in Half Hill. There's 2 pots for cooking. And there's a bunch of nodes on the ground, or you're up in a balloon, one of the hot air balloons, and you jump down. And the actual intent of the BG or the brawl is you have to pick up vegetables out of the ground and then move them as a flag carrier back to the pot. And of course, then you can screw up the other team by blowing them up and stopping them. First team to 20 wins. Ta-da! Kind of fun. Kind of. I can definitely see.
Vegan capture the flag.
Pardon me?
Vegan capture the flag.
Totally vegan. Yeah,
That's
totally.
funny.
Like if you're a vegan, I'm sure you'll love it. I can see,
Venruki. It's his
Yeah,
jam.
right.
dude.
Elliot would be in there.
I would love to grab Venruki on this and grab him and his grab him. I'll be on my Demon Hunter. He can be on his Windwalker or his Mistweaver, whatever he wants to play as a monk. Even as Mage, like whatever. Like mobility wins. That's all there is to this. I watched the other team had a shaman. He went Ghost Wolf. It was nigh impossible to catch him because they had another player on the same team that was blocking for them or CCing, and that kind of they almost won the game. Like we won, I think it was like 20-19 kind of thing. And yeah, so mobility wins. I'm sure if you had you do a 5-man group, jump into it, have fun, and run it. If you want, you can also play a 5-man group and do the offensive interruption game, and just I could definitely see a DK, Arcane Mage with slow. Frost Mage would definitely impede the other team, stuff like that. So, let's hear. Oh, do you guys see about the Isle of Conquest changes?
I did not know. What are they changing with the Isle?
Okay, so a bunch of people are really concerned. There's a bunch of posts complaining about the amount of damage that was being done in Isle of Conquest, especially on the Alliance side.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So what people didn't know is on the so in Isle of Conquest, if the Alliance gets any sort of a siege weapon or the glaives, they could actually kill within like 3 shots the horde boss through the wall.
Hell? That's crazy.
Yeah, but you couldn't do it on the Alliance side. The horde couldn't do that because like where the bosses were in the walls, and anyway, whatever. So they made a few changes. One, they fixed the bug where the glaive salvo won't actually damage the boss anymore. That said, they turned around and said, well, maybe the horde general ability shouldn't kill things one shot. Maybe. So they did that. They also changed the generals where the general will no longer reset their health to full when leashed. Apparently that was an issue. That would be really annoying. Yeah. Oh, I leashed. Oh, I'm sorry. I just reset the boss.
Yeah.
Crap. The other thing, and this is as an Alliance player, I've done this a few times. It is so annoying when players hit 120. The glaives had like no health. They didn't. The health didn't change. So like I'd try running a glaive and I would die like in 2 shots. It was annoying, and like nobody could do anything about it. So glaives now have 30% more health. They take a little bit more damage by the players, but I think that is pertinent. I think that's balanced enough. But ultimately, I really want to announce this because there were so many forum posts, so many about people complaining about this. And anybody that complains that Blizz doesn't listen to us, screw you. Just stop listening to my podcast. Just stop. Like,
oh wow,
yeah, no, seriously. If you're gonna complain the Blizzard doesn't listen to you and you're listening to us right now, just don't. Like, obviously, you're so self-important that you think that Blizzard doesn't care. I'm just gonna say that right now. I've heard so much. Like, I've been reading a lot during my time off, and the amount of animosity and people thinking that they're so self-important and that Blizzard doesn't care out there, I can't imagine. Like, this is one point where number of forum posts were put out there posting the information, and they made the change listening to us. If you're going to then turn around and go, Blizzard doesn't listen to you, either you're not presenting your information properly, or you're out of lunch, you're like out in left field, and you're just being self-important, thinking that you're so self-important that your one problem is everybody's problem. In which case, I don't, whatever. Anyways, that's me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people also just have they feel they feel that way because they've been burned, and it's been a long time coming thing of just it's been a slow decline of just steeping into just like negativity for some people. But yeah.
Oh, fair. I mean, 1,000 cuts can kill a person, sure.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm still gonna go by it. Like, seriously, if you're that sad about the game, like, if you want to listen to the podcast, I'm not telling you what to do, I guess. Or you kind of am, but if you're that sad about the game, by all means listen to us. But you have nothing. If you're not if you don't want to play the game, then don't play the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all right. I guess. Sorry, that was a bit of my announcement about my frustration about the number and the amount of negativity that I've read in the past 3 weeks on the community about World of Warcraft. I cannot stand people while they sit there and cut themselves and say, "Ow, this hurts," while they continue to cut themselves and say that it's not their problem. They're cutting themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last piece of news. 8.1.5. It's about to hit the PTR, boys and girls. All right. So with this, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to us? So 8.1, it's about to hit the PTR. Pay attention to it. By all means, please get in there and play it, because this includes the new Arathi Basin versus AI brawl that they're putting into the game.
Oh, PvE first PvP.
So
nice.
Yes. So this is what they announced during BlizzCon. They showed a little snippet of it. If you need to, just go back to the BlizzCon videos. I'm sure it's there. So this is where you get to go into Arathi Basin as a brawl. And you're playing against a computer, completely AI. This is their advanced AI that they brought into play, including actually players jumping as a PvP player would, and have fun. Good luck. The other one is Wintergrasp is going to be coming into the Epic Battleground list. So that is super awesome.
Ooh, nice.
That's neat.
Wintergrasp was actually fun. I enjoyed Wintergrasp.
It was.
Really enjoyed it. I was actually just for fun. I went back there last weekend, and I was in there playing it just to capture it for the Alliance so that I could farm the elementals. But yeah, that was fun. And apparently they're going to do an update to the Brawlers Guild. So we'll see what happens there.
Nice.
So if you're interested in any of that, pay attention to the PTR when it downloads. Please go out there and play it. Please, 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 please. More the merrier. And they were planning to start off essentially with just technicals. They're worried about the systems, and then they'll do the polish. So, all right. Wow. Okay. 2.5 hours. Yeah. Let's run through this. Okay. Trivia question. The previous trivia question was, which pro WoW player said that they make their teammates clip their nails? So kind of a hard one to answer. So this was actually the pro player themselves that said it. Wasn't probably answered, but I'm going to go with the answer that everybody gave, which is Swapsy. Swapsy, I actually confirmed the Swapsy. So as a joke, when he was talking to his peers, what ended up happening was He was like, "Hey guys, okay, make sure you bring your passport, bring your stuff, yada yada yada. Oh, and don't forget to clip your nails." Yeah, it was a nice thing for him to do. That said, it was actually Waz said it during an interview.
Yep, mine.
So by that though, I went with Swapsy saying it. That was the answer that everybody gave, and that was kind of the answer I was looking for. And I'm going to give a shout out to Verlaine for being the first one to correctly answer that question, which was the answer I was looking for, which is Swapsy. So that said, that was the end of our winter contest for the free WoW time. Now originally the conversation is if I remember, Winstead was offering a month of WoW time, and Andalin, you were saying you were going to bump it up to a year's worth if we got a large number of people playing. I believe it was over 20, right? Unfortunately, we only had 3 people that in individuals that answered the questions, so it's only going to be 1 month of WoW time. So congratulations, your wallet is still alive. And I want to just ask for a drum roll. Just quickly, a drum roll, please. And our winner is Verlaine. Verlaine, congratulations. You not only did you answer almost all the questions immediately, but
yeah, boy.
Yeah, I mean, numbers tell the rule, but you, I did a completely random draw, and you were the first person I pulled out. So congratulations, you earned yourself a free month of WoW time. I will contact you directly via the email address that you sent in all your questions or your answers to our questions. This month's question, and this is only for a shout out in the next episode. No game time, unfortunately. But the question is, what is the Forsaken racial ability that allows them to feed off of dead bodies to regain their health?
Yes.
And for the bonus point, just a bonus. What type of dead bodies? So you can send those answers to technicallypvp@gmail.com, and the first correct answer will earn a shout out on our next show. All right, any shout outs? Anybody want to shout out?
I want to shout out to my sleep schedule. Rip. I'm just kidding. This is fun.
Dude, I'm sorry. It's funny but long. RZN, any shout outs?
Shout out to everyone listening to the podcast. Anyone that actually plays RMP. Hope this helped out, and shout out to any of my viewers that and anyone in my community that ends up listening. So yeah, and shout out to you guys for having me here. Appreciate it.
Well, I want to give a couple shout outs. So first, I want to give a shout out to Rashikwi. I think I said that right. Who had the bravery to put a post up on the official forums to try to seek out players for an RBG team. So I think that's awesome. Just for the bravery to do that, because I find the official forums are just so not friendly, I guess is the best way to say it. But they're looking for definitely a long-term team. So I want to put that out there. I also want to give a shout out to the people that hung out this long in the stream, and I'm seeing you in the Twitch channel. So Activate Energy, Commander Root, host giveaway Nahali, Positivity Bot, yourself RZN, Slow Cool, and Stockholm, Sweden. So thank you very much for sticking out this long. Last but not least, RZN.
Yes, sir.
If people want to find you somewhere on the interwebs, where would they find you?
So you can find me mostly. I'm pretty active on Twitter. So at RZN732 on Twitter. I post on there pretty regularly. Some WoW stuff, some random stuff, IRL stuff, and then I always post when I go live on Twitch too. So you can find me on Twitch. Also RZN732 on Twitch. But yeah, those two are my main social media. I mean, I have an Instagram too, which is pretty much the same, but you guys, that's mostly like IRL and some gaming related nerdy stuff. But yeah, those are pretty much it right there. You can find me on those two networks.
Awesome.
Cool.
And Endelin, can you help me list off to our listeners where they can reach us?
Sure. You can tweet our podcast at technically_PvP on Twitter, or you can email us at technicallypvp@gmail.com. We also have our blog, which contains individual contact information for all of us at technicallypvp.wordpress.com. And a link for all of this will be available in our show notes.
Indeed. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
You can also join our Discord and our Battle.net community. Links will also be in the show notes. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will chat with you next time. Good night, all.
Ciao.
Bye.
You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, or directly from the RSS feed at libsyn.com. Please give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts, good or bad. It helps us know what we're doing well or poorly, and helps others find the podcast. This has been a presentation of Technically PvP Podcast 2019.